We should start a podcast. Yeah, we've all said it. But when it comes time to make it a reality, we get stuck. Well, here's some good news. With Spreaker, all you need to start a podcast is a microphone and a good idea. Spreaker handles the recording, management, distribution, and monetization of your podcast, allowing you to focus on making a podcast. Whether you're discussing the latest moves in the tech sector or just your dating life, Spreaker gives you tools to make your podcast a hit and professional insights about who is listening and where. And as your podcast dream grows, Spreaker only becomes more useful, letting you upload and schedule multiple episodes at the same time, push to multiple platforms, and customize RSS feeds. But what about making money? With Spreaker, monetization is as easy as checking a few boxes. So next time someone says to you, we should start a podcast, say yes, and let Spreaker handle the rest. Learn more and get 30% off at Spreaker.com/get started. That's SPREAKER.com/get started.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 10 Dimensions of Wellness. On tonight's show, we are talking about depression, domestic violence, and dependency. And our guest for the evening is the owner and the facilitator of P.O.U.R, a nonprofit out of Etta, Mississippi, Miss Missie Wilson. She's going to be coming to us live from Mississippi, and we're going to be discussing all of these topics with her in conjunction with family wellness, emotional wellness, and ways in which we can remain well emotionally throughout what's going on right now in the world, as well as just throughout the duration of our lives. So welcome to the show, Missie. How are you this evening?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being a guest. Now, Tell us a little bit about P.O.U.R, what it is that P.O.U.R does, how you developed P.O.U.R, and what you're trying to express to your community through P.O.U.R.
Yes. So P.O.U.R stands for provide, offer, uplift, and rebuild. And that's just the basis of that's what we do. And so what we do with P.O.U.R, we try to provide resources to people in our community that's dealing with maybe mental illness issues, domestic violence, teen depression, suicidal ideation, and anxiety. So I try to provide resources for them to help them better to understand what they're going through or whatever situation they're in, maybe so that we can get them the proper help that they need. So that's the first part of it. The offer is because we offer so much, you know what I'm saying, to our community. Just, we just like to be there for them for whatever they need us for. And so that's the offer part. The uplift is we go out and we do youth camps. We do seminars and conventions and things like that to uplift the youth and, even with those that's dealing with mental issues. Rebuild is our ending part. Because once we've done all of that, we've given you the tools. We've provided you with all that you need. We've taught you how to deal with coping methods and things like that. Now it's time for us to rebuild. We got to rebuild because everything that you knew and how you operated before is no longer needed. And so that ending part is where we rebuild and we pour into people. That's what we truly do. We pour into them. We stick with them to the end, no matter what it is. It's not one of those things where, hey, I'm going to send you go and to this organization and get help, and then I'm done. I stick with them to make sure everything is done all the way to the end. So we just want to provide, this community service to our community and, especially to the children. So it started off, Cammie, really being about the teens. The adult part of it came later as I began to see a lot of adults having some issues, and I felt, what, hey, we can help them as well. But it originally started off just for being for the teens because my story, I have a daughter.
Yes, tell us your backstory. Tell us how you got started into P.O.U.R. What made you actually want to go out and do this?
Yes. So about 7 years ago, and first of all, I have a 16-year-old daughter. And so 7 years ago, she lost her dad to cancer. The year before she lost her dad, she lost a brother to cancer. So she had two whammies back to back. It sent my
Yeah.
daughter into major depression. But I didn't know anything about depression. I myself had battled with depression, but I didn't know enough information about it. And so I just kept thinking, my daughter is sad. She's mourning her brother and her dad's death. I'm just going to let her do that the way she needs to do it. Big mistake. Big mistake. So we went through bouts of her being suicidal, having to be institutionalized, becoming a self-harmer. So I had to learn, I had to take it upon myself as her parent to find out, well, what is this all, involved, and I wanted to learn, and then I wanted to know what I needed to do as her parent. And so that's how all of that came about, because of my daughter. And I dug in, Cammie, and I did the research, and I got in touch with different organizations, our mental health facility here. I'm very familiar with them. They're familiar with me. I actually do volunteer work with them, with the youth. So that's how all of this came about, because I wanted to make sure that I was helping my daughter the best that I could. Because a lot of times, Cammie, we think that being depressed, oh, they're just sad, they'll be okay, they'll get over it. And that's not the case. And so after learning all of that, I went to my daughter's school, and I sat down and I talked to the principal. I said, hey, listen, this is what's going on with my kid. She's been diagnosed with this. And guess what? Pretty much all these kids here at the school have the same symptoms as she does, and they're dealing with this as well. And so the principal allowed me to come into the school and just do little small group things with some of the young girls, the young ladies at the school. And so we just kind of started doing that, and it made a difference. And I got to connect with their parents, because parents didn't even know,
Yeah.
They
So
don't know that their kid is depressed, because they don't know the symptoms.
They don't know the symptoms of depression.
Yes.
So you didn't just, it wasn't just a community thing. This was something that started at home, and because you saw the need for it in your home, you were able to translate it in a way so that you could also affect your community in a positive manner as well. Like, you started identifying mental illness in kids whose parents weren't even able to identify what was going on with their kids. That's a miracle, because you literally probably saved some children's lives.
Yes. And that's the provide and the offer part of what we do. You know what I'm saying? And it really touched my heart, because I understood how the parents felt as well. And they were so grateful, oh my God, Missie, we didn't know. We knew something was wrong.
But we didn't know this. Yeah.
We didn't know. And I'm so grateful to God, you know what I'm saying? Because like you said, a lot of children's lives have been saved. Parents have, I sit down and I talk to parents. You and I know, as being Black women, mental illness is not easily accepted in our community.
It's a stigma in our community.
It's a stigma. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal
with it. We hide it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I used to always hear, oh, I'm not sending my child to a psychiatrist, and they're not putting my baby on no medicine and all that stuff. Let me tell you, Cammie, I did that. And that helped my baby. That saved my baby. And so thank God she's not on all the medications that she was in the beginning. And so when I sit down and I talk to parents about what their children is going through, and I tell them it's okay. It's okay to be, let them be on the medication. It's okay. As long as you're monitoring it, making sure that it works. If it's not working, you need to talk to the doctors. This is not working. Because I had to do that with my daughter. We've gone through several different types of depression, antidepressants, medications that didn't work, and so I wasn't going to keep allowing her, well, just take it. No.
Yeah, you weren't going to just keep force feeding it down her throat.
Exactly. So with since P.O.U.R has been a part of this community, I can honestly say a lot of parents have gotten help for their children. Yes, a lot of it. So that's the good thing, and that's what we want. We just want everybody ringing from the messenger. But yes, that's what we want. Everybody to be healthy mentally, especially the young folks. They're the future. Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 second. My laptop just decided it was going to do a quick dial real quick. I just need to get plugged up.
Gotcha. Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is technology, y'all, so I apologize.
Hey, we know how technology goes.
Okay.
Yes. But let me tell you, I'm going to say this, Cammie. I remember there was one incident where my daughter had to be institutionalized, and that, well, the very first time, and that broke my heart that she had to be institutionalized. And I remember I came back home after all of that, and I was going through her phone, and she has a group chat with about 8 or 9 of her friends. Do you know every last one of those kids in that group chat, all they all talked about was suicide, self-harm, and how depressed they were. Yeah, and that blew my mind, and I realized then this is major. This is serious. And even down to different things that they watch on the internet. There's a lot of stuff now. We're in an era where being suicidal is glorified among the youth. Yeah. Yeah.
So even nowadays, with them knowing how painful this situation can be for the family left behind, even them knowing that there are resources out there and there are people that are available for them to talk to, they're sensationalizing this and making it more of a popularity thing, and they're doing it in packs now. So they're joining together. They're misery loves company is the best way to describe it. They're miserable, they're depressed, and they're enjoying it with other people who have the same feelings. So now they're at that point where they want to just off-eat themselves all together.
Yes. To the point where, there was, I don't know if it was an app or a game or something, or maybe a challenge my daughter was telling me about. And I think that's what it is. It's called the Kill Yourself Challenge. What, you know what I'm saying? That's really sad that's a challenge. And I said, so you're really trying to kill yourself? And she said, yeah, that's it. And then there are different, she said, Mom, there are different apps out here that promote suicide. Yeah. And so those are things that parents don't know about. You know what I'm saying? And I try to educate them on that. Follow what your child is watching, listening to. Grab their phones. You pay that phone bill. You know what I'm saying? And go to some of these sites. Because if you do, it will blow your mind. It will blow your mind. That one site, I forget what it's called, with that girl with the eyes that pop out or something. That site is so crazy. No child or teenager needs to be on that site at all.
Yeah. I'm gonna need you to put together a list of these apps and sites for me so that we can post them for our listeners when we get ready to post the show, so people actually know what these sites are, and you can provide those resources to parents to be able to have so they can look out for these apps, because I'm pretty sure they're not named something obvious. So even if you see them on your kid's phone, you wouldn't really know what they were.
Yes.
So let's get a list of those apps and those things together so that we can just get those resources out to parents, so parents will be able to identify some of these things that their kids are being involved in, that they have on their phone and stuff like that. Now, I have a question for you. Based off of the amount of children that you see dealing with depression, how many of them actually lead, how many of those kids lead into a dependency state where they become addicted to different types of drugs or different types of lifestyles? You know, what's the percentage, or how do you see that? Do you see a lot of that happening?
Yes, I do. I see a lot of that happening. It happens more so with children who have not had any therapy or have not been on medication, and they're just kind of winging it. Yes. And so that's very popular. It's probably and don't quote me, but I remember when we checked probably about 3 years ago, and it was like somewhere about 30% of children who battle with depression goes on to being chemical dependencies. Yeah. Because you this is what my daughter told me. I remember when she was self-harming, because I didn't understand that, and she and I, we go out and we talk together, and we were actually at the university giving a speech. And I said, with this self-harming, I said, I don't really understand it. I said, but my daughter does. I said, why do you self-harm? And she said, Mom, 90% of the time I feel numb. I can't feel anything. And self-harming at least lets me know that I can feel something. Because she said, that's the only way I can feel something, if I'm cutting myself. And I was like, wow. So, yeah.
Girl, that just sent a chill through my body. Yeah. Like, oh, that just.
Yeah. And when I sit down and I talk to youth, different youth that are dealing with depression, that's what they all say. I'm numb. I don't feel anything. I just want to feel something. And I said, wow. And that's what my daughter, when she cut, she said, I just want to feel something. I just want to be able to feel something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just imagine, I'm getting my daughter help. You know what I'm saying? Imagine those that's not getting that. They end up being addicted early on. Yeah. Because they want to feel something. Yep. And the drugs make them feel something. The adrenaline, the rush, and all of that. Yeah. Yeah.
And then they are self-medicating with drugs that are actually interacting with the chemical dependence, the chemicals in their brain, and actually elevating the depression, and elevating the anxiety, and elevating those symptoms, as opposed to actually subsiding them the way they want them to.
Yes, that's it. And, we got to take a stance. We do, because it's so many teens. They said, this is the statistics. It's like this with the teens from 9 to 12. About 14% of children from 9 to 12 are depressed and committing suicide.
I can believe
that number doubles
as they get older.
Middle school.
I can believe that.
In high school. By the time they get to college, they're gone. You know what I'm saying? And and if you pay attention, if we start paying attention to people, I bet we can probably count on all 10 of our fingers 10 people that we know, 10 young children or 10 young adults that we know personally that's depressed and dealing with suicidal ideation. Yeah. It's just that real. Yeah. And it's sad. It is.
And the crazy part about it is, as much as we like to say we don't, we actually do. Yeah. We know people, we know kids, we know their situations, and we know why they're depressed, why they're going through the things that they're going through. And 9 times out of 10, it's got to do with selfish adult behaviors.
Yes. Years ago in our town where we live at, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, there was a young man who had some mental issues. And one day he snapped, and he lived in the home with his mother. He killed his mother, and he killed himself. And everybody in our community was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. And I was like, I believe he did that. He has mental issues. You know, we all knew he was, had these issues. You know how you do? That's Lil Bob. You know, he crazy.
Yeah.
We say that so casually. You know what I'm saying? Lil Bob needs some help. If Lil Bob
Yeah.
is crazy, let's get Lil Bob some help. Because Lil Bob gonna grow up to be Big Bob.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Lil Bob grew up to be Big Bob, and Big Bob killed his mama and himself because nobody got Lil Bob any help.
Everybody just said Lil Bob was crazy.
Yeah. And
to get Lil Bob any assistance, anything. Nobody sought to help Lil Bob with any resources, become a mentor for him.
Thank you.
Out what was going on. Nobody in the neighborhood. So it makes you go back to the thing that we say. We often say it takes a village to raise a child. But are we really that village? Are we being that village for our children? And if we are not being that village, at what point do we take responsibility for everything that we see going on around us? Our children are depressed. We're not getting them the mental assistance that they need. That leads to violent tendencies. That leads to, depressive states as adults. Me being in the nutrition industry, what I see is that leads to emotional eating disorders.
That's right. Absolutely. That's how with my daughter, the depression, over these 7 years, she's gained so much weight. She wasn't a big baby or a big, toddler or anything. Yeah. But since she's been depressed, she's packed on a lot of weight. My kid is 16 years old. She'll be 17 in September. And she's 28 pounds from being 300. And we've changed now. We're working on that now. We're getting healthy and we're eating right and we're exercising. But we wasn't at first, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so because I thought I was doing the right thing. I'm going to let her handle it herself. We got to stop letting them handle things themselves. They're kids. I don't care if they're 15 or 5. They don't know what we know. They don't have, you know what I'm saying? The capacity,
the mind.
Yes. To understand it.
Yeah. The life that we've had. Yeah.
Yes.
They don't have that.
Absolutely. And I always think back, I come from a big family on my mom's side, and I grew up with all of my cousins. And I remember just so many family members, always just different people. Oh, yeah, they're a little touched, so. Well, why aren't we addressing that? Why?
But we need to look at it in a different way. We don't need to address it in a mindset of it's being something negative. We need to start addressing it so we make sure that we're covering our family and say, what?
Exactly.
There is something wrong with that family member. Let's make sure that they go through therapy and get the resources that they need so that they can live a healthy and active life as well. Because what happens is it becomes a dependency issue for them. Not just saying addicted to drugs or behavior, but they become dependent on other family members in order to get the resources that they need to just live life comfortably. So then that becomes a self-esteem issue for them as well.
It's so much that's, what I'm saying, that's tied to it. I think now, about what if I hadn't decided to take a proactive, stance with my daughter's health, with her mental wellness? What if I had to just sat back like we so often do? Where would she be now?
Yeah.
She's so much better now. We haven't arrived, but she's so much better. She can talk when she's feeling down, when she's spiraling down, which now with me knowing what I know, I see it. I can see it before it's happening,
You can identify it before
I can identify it.
Yeah.
Yes. And so sometimes I'll go, you okay? And she'll go, well, no, I'm having a rough day. I said, yeah, I felt like you were, let's sit down, let's talk about it. What we need to do to make this different.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
get
What do we
that.
need to do?
And all parents need to be able to identify those symptoms in their children. Like you need to be able to look at your kid, and when you say, "Are you okay?" instead of getting that same standard, "Oh, I'm fine" answer and walking
Yes.
away, you need to be able to understand and read between the lines when "I'm fine" is not really "I'm fine."
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, it went out. I'm sorry. They're calling. This is so funny. People are calling me on Messenger. I hardly ever get people call me on Messenger.
They can't wait for you on your phone, so they're gonna call you.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I think about, how my daughter has changed for the better. We still got a long ways to go, but, we've come a long ways as well. And even to the point where now, Cammie, with her going through what she goes through, she's comfortable enough to share that. She's transparent enough to share it with other individuals, her friends. I am so proud of her
I'm
because,
proud of her too, because I've seen a couple of her videos, and her
yes,
videos are spot on for dealing with mental illness, especially coming from a teenage perspective.
right, yes. And, she said, Mom, she said, now my friends, they're reaching out to me, because since with COVID-19 and the whole world being quarantined, can you imagine what that has been like for people who
Who are
deal with
depressed?
serious
Yes.
depression? Yes, it's been horrible for them.
That's why,
Like
yeah, people don't get it. Like
they
dealing
don't
with
get it.
dealing with not only are you got a situation that's causing anxiety, but you're putting people in a situation where they're going to become more of in a depressive state. So you got
Mm-hmm.
depression on top of anxiety, and you got people in their homes by themselves. I'm surprised there
Yes.
hasn't been a high amount of suicides just based upon us being locked down in this pandemic. And I'm sure we haven't even really had an opportunity to do the study or to look into the research on it to see what the rates are right now, just based on that.
Yes. Of course, the numbers are up, but everything has been focused on COVID-19, and so it's like things like that are being kind of like swept under the rug right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the suicide rate is up. It's up. Domestic violence. I did an interview on the radio about a month or so ago, and then it was up like 80% globally. Domestic violence, because you got to think about it. People are quarantined at home with their abusers.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
People need to think about
Children, yep,
we
at
we
home
don't
with.
we don't realize is see, this is all three of these sort of tying together. Dealing with depression, dependency, and domestic violence, especially now during this quarantine lockdown time when everybody was at home, stuck at home with their abuser, who most likely has a dependency issue,
Yes.
be it on drugs or alcohol, and
Mm-hmm.
which is causing that person, either that person is depressed or their abuser is depressed. So we're dealing with all of this in the same realm and in the same household sometimes.
Right.
What's crazy is you got kids dealing with this on multiple levels. They're watching their parents go through this, which is causing
Yes.
depression and dependency in their lives. Wow, girl, you just hit on a big one now.
Yes. And so I'm telling you, the numbers are going to be off the charts. You should watch what I tell you. It's just not being noticed now.
No, it's not.
Yes. Because it's been a lot. I've had, just during the quarantine. Oh goodness. The quarantine started in March. So from March up until probably maybe 2 weeks ago, I've had anywhere from 30 to 50 domestic calls. Because I also, like I said, with P.O.U.R, I provide a hotline. Yes,
Resources for domestic violence.
exactly. And I give my personal number out to people, because I want them to be able to, always have contact with me. I give them the toll-free number, but when everything that was going on, we didn't have anybody to work those numbers. And so there were women calling me throughout the day and night, oh my God, Missy, what am I going to do? He's here every day and I'm afraid, we're nervous. The kids are here. What do we do? We're locked in with our abuser 24/7 now. At least before that, they can get out and go to work. The kids got to go to school, but that all got shut down. Women were literally scared. There was a lot going on. And only thing I could, I would tell them, listen, I know you shouldn't have to walk on eggshells in your own home, but that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah, and there were no shelters available. There were
shelters. There were shelters that were available. Some of them stayed open, not all of them, but they had to leave some of them open because it was considered an essential business. But they didn't have enough staff to cover all of them. So yeah, the shelters were limited. But those who needed help, they could get help. That was available. Yes. So yeah. So it's a lot, that goes up under this umbrella, Cammie. Yeah. Yes.
I see that. Well, you have to tell us how we can support your organization. Let people know where it is that you guys are located, how they can get in touch with you, and how they can show their support to P.O.U.R.
Yes. Well, we're located right now in Etta, Mississippi, and everything that we do now, we do it ourselves. We no grants, no, none of that is going on. And so if people want to make monetary donations, they can do that, or just whatever they want to provide. If they want to provide things for children, because that's another thing that we've been doing. Well, and I say we, so let me tell you, P.O.U.R. is me. There's no we in P.O.U.R. P.O.U.R. is me even during this time. Because listen, think about this. A lot of kids counted on those meals that they were getting at school.
That's right.
When everything shut down, those kids still needed to eat. We collected canned goods. There were foods, there were different organizations that gave away free food. And yes, I needed it, but those children needed it more. So we made sure that, what I'm saying, we took canned goods, sacks of canned goods and fresh fruits and vegetables, and we dropped it off anonymously. Yeah, just left it on, and so things like that help us, people want, because more than anything, they need to be fed and taken care of. So whatever way people want to support this cause, I am appreciative of that.
Well, by the time we post this show to air, I'm going to go ahead and post Missie's Cash App on our site as well as the show's platform. So those of you who are out there listening, you'll be able to donate finances to P.O.U.R. Also, if you're watching this via YouTube, at the end of roll credits, I'll go ahead and post her information as well so you guys can donate. Like she said, she's doing anonymous food drop-offs. She's helping with domestic violence situations. She's setting up resources for depressed teens. So any ways you can help, anyway, if you're close to Etta, Mississippi, if you're out there in that region and you want to volunteer, you can get in touch with Missy. I'll make sure you know how to do that. We'll also post her social media pages so that you can follow her as well. Missy, we really appreciate you being on the 10 Dimensions of Wellness today. The information and the insight that you have provided to us by way of just emotional wellness for children, talking about dependency and domestic violence and resources and ways that we can help each other. I'm just so grateful for the information and so grateful for you blessing us with your spirit of kindness and awesomeness.
Yes.
Thank you so much again. You guys, thank you for listening to the 10 Dimensions of Wellness. We will be back next week with another special guest. So again, just be well, be healthy, eat clean, and live right. Much love, peace, and blessings to you all, and have a great evening.
Yes.